20 years ago, Hurricane Katrina touched down in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Boyfriend material. JERRODBROSEAN. JERRODBROSEAN. Boyfriend material.
Want to know what I was doing? Let me tell you. August 23rd, 2005, Hurricane Katrina formed, but 2 months before that, I had just signed my first record deal to Sucker Free Records. You know, the one with the leprechaun, Lil Flip? Yes, sir, doctor. I was living in Jackson, Mississippi, which is approximately 3 hours away from New Orleans, Louisiana. Now, if you live anywhere near the Gulf of Mexico, or Gulf of America, whatever you want to call it, then you know that we ain't strangers to tropical storms. We've seen them all. We've done them all. We got the t-shirt. However, this time it was different. The weather reports were different. The energy around the city was different. And the government definitely was different. You see, Mississippi, unlike Louisiana, we are above sea level, but Louisiana is below sea level, which means that they had to build a levee system that has proved to secure the city time and time again. So the night the hurricane hit, little did we know that those levees would never be dry or never be the same again. It was me, Rico Survied, Trey Jiggs, Jay Jones, and my manager, Otis. We had all gathered in the front room of our house. Why I had a house when I was in high school, I don't know. However, this is where we were. We didn't really buy supplies. We didn't go get gas. We did the least amount of preparation for this storm because we thought it was going to be like any other storm. We sat around in the living room and the lights went out. And if you've ever lived in Mississippi, in the heart of the summer, it don't matter where you go, there's always heat. So it was extremely hot in the house for a while. And all of a sudden, the bottom fell out. It rained. The wind blew hard as hell. Hell blew hard as hell. The hell blew hard as hell. And this is when we knew that this is a real storm. It never stopped raining. And it was buckets and buckets of rain. And because it was so hot, we decided that we were going to go outside and run in the street. Now, mind you, at the time, I was probably 15, maybe 16 years old. So logical thinking was never in my mind. Never. I just wanted to have fun. So I'll never forget, we ran out in the rain and we ran down the street. And we didn't even get 5 feet down the street before the wind almost put us up in a Mississippi pine. But you think we stopped running? Hell no. Now, if you made it this far in this story, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. We kept going. And as we got further down the street, a Jackson police officer pulled up on us, a black lady. She rolled the window down so aggressively, I automatically knew I was in trouble. I felt like my mama had caught me. And she pointed at all of us and said, "What your dumb ass out here doing running in the middle of this storm? Don't you know that these power lines are snapping like toothpicks and shooting through the air like spears? Get your black ass in the house." We looked at each other and kindly said, "Yes, ma'am," headed home. And I'm so thankful for that because, like she said, power lines were snapping like toothpicks and literally laying in the middle of the road. So later that night, it calmed down a little bit, but it was still hot. We had no power, no communication for real. And this was a time when internet was just internet. It was land-based internet. There was no real Wi-Fi. You had to plug into that junk. And it wasn't that strong. That kind of sounded like some dinosaur shit, huh? But I promise you it's not. Now we just stuck in the house. No communication with nobody. No real conversation. Just us. Never a dull moment with us. Now, I don't know who idea this was, but I used to drive a Chevy Blazer. Shout out to Chevy Blazer. And my Chevy Blazer had TVs in it. So we all went outside and put a DVD in the radio so that we have something to watch. I started the truck up and I turned the AC on. All right, problem solved. We got TV, we got AC, we got conversation, and we could charge our phones. So we're doing good for now. Now remember, I said we didn't go get any supplies. So what we had was what we had. No gas, no water, no nothing. So we wasn't thinking about rationing anything. We was in the truck snacking, eating whatever we could, drinking whatever we could. Comfortable. AC pumping. I forgot what movie we were watching, but we were watching something, everybody charging their phone. Until I ran out of gas. Now we're back at square one. Because not only do we not have supplies, we don't have transportation to go get supplies. So we stuck. And I don't know if you ever sat in a car on a humid August night in Mississippi with 4 young adolescent men growing into grown men. It's gonna get musty and it's gonna get hot. And it did just that, musty and hot. So I had it up to here. And keep in mind, we didn't get the worst of the problems. There are people still in New Orleans who were like suffering from this shit, right? But because we were inconvenienced just a little bit, we felt like it was the end of the world. So we all hopped out the car and decided to go back in the house. And it was even hotter in the house. We let up all the windows, but that wasn't doing it for me. So I got the bright idea to be extra country because I was born and raised in Simpson County. So I got all the way down to my boxers and I went outside. I got on top of my Chevy Blazer and I went to sleep. I went to sleep. Now, again, it was hot. But the next day, we got cell service and I got a call from the CEO of the label. Baby brother, we coming to the rescue. Coming to get y'all boys. That's how he sound. And he did just that. At the time, he was driving the H2 Hummer. He ain't drive it for the terrain and the tactics and what it's supposed to be used for. That's just what the rappers was driving back then. You had to have a Hummer. So he came through in the Hummer and picked all of us up. Said, I'm about to get you some gas put in your cars. Went and got some gas put in the car. But it was just enough gas to start the car up. This is the part of the story where I got to get real and say I did some things that I'm not too proud of that day, but I needed some gas. Everybody and their mama was in line to get gas, wrapped around the corner, miles for miles. The police had abandoned the idea of de-escalating the process of getting gas. And this is how I know society is not ready for anything drastically to happen in the United States of America. So if you wanted gas, you just had to go by the buddy system. First come, first serve. If we run out, we run out. Well, again, me being out of high school, me feeling entitled to the status that I had in life, I felt like we should just be able to get some gas. As an adult today, I would definitely not do this. So I drove past the line the first time and I did a U-turn. And on that second pass, I jumped right in front of everybody. Jumped out the car with some mouse-catoos on our side, pumped a full tank of gas, and drove right off. I was young. I didn't understand, but now I do. So after that, we decided, let's go to the grocery store. Let's get some groceries. We got what we could, and we took it back to the house. We didn't have power, so the refrigerator was dead, and the food was gonna spoil. So Rico came up with the bright idea of barbecuing all the meat that we have and inviting friends over to eat it. So we had a few friends that went to Tougaloo College. They all stopped by the house. They brought some of their food that they needed to barbecue. We had our food that we wanted to barbecue. And we threw all the food on the grill and everybody ate. Then my favorite part, let me tell you. We get the news that the power won't be back on in the city for another 7 days. Now, mind you, we in Jackson, Mississippi. I can only imagine what it was like for the people in New Orleans, Louisiana. We only had to wait a week, but I think they were like 3 or 4 weeks. It was pure chaos. And this was the same time when Kanye West delivered that infamous line, George Bush don't care about black people. That's when I knew I was a Kanye fan, because most news stations were not reporting on what was actually happening in those areas. They were mainly focused on...
Well, are you doing it because you need it, or you?
Yeah, I mean, you know, when we have no means to wash clothes, we have no food, sure.
A lot of the people here say they don't feel bad taking this stuff. One, because they need it. But two, they said the police said it was okay. And we actually saw the police. They're in aisle 3.
All I'm doing. How you doing?
Hi, what you doing here?
I'm doing my job.
Meanwhile, there was no resources. Remember, I'm in Mississippi, struggling to get gas and groceries, and it's hot outside. Small things to a giant compared to what they were dealing with in New Orleans, Louisiana. You had millions of people whose houses had flooded. They had lost everything. They didn't have a shirt to put on their back, pants to put on their ass, shoes to put on their feet. So everything that they were taking was a necessity. But do you think that the news stations reported about that? Hell no. The only thing that they cared about was creating a narrative that these black people are down here stealing. I'd say at least 70% of that city had to be evacuated. Some went to Houston, some went to Dallas, and a lot of them came to Mississippi. So it was very tragic. And as of today, over 1,800 people were unalived. and millions were displaced. The total damage was over $125 billion, one of the most expensive natural disasters in U.S. history. Now at first, like I said, Katrina seemed like a gentle passing over Florida, kind of like a guest in a hurry, right? Just passing through. But once it hit the Gulf of Mexico, where the water's really, really, really warm, it grew stronger, it grew darker, and it grew angrier. This storm drowned an entire city. Help was very slow. The system failed those people. But because we were so secure at that time, everybody in my immediate circle was okay. Me and Rico decided to continue our tour. Now wait a minute, let me finish. Again, it was me at 15, 16 years old. No real morality. It was all about music for me and my career. So after that, we left from there and we went up to St. Louis. Now, when we got to St. Louis, we were actually invited to the inauguration of the mayor at the time. And from there, we went right back to Memphis. And we checked right back into that same hotel because power was still not back on in our city. So we probably spent another 2 or 3 days up there. But when we finally left and came back to Jackson, power had came back on. It was a weird time, man. But when we got back on our street, it looked like a war zone. I'll never forget this. It was still like limbs and houses and everything was torn down. And then the aftermath of just watching everything on the news and how it unfolded it was very humbling, man. You know, and it lets you know that sometimes you gotta be grateful for what you got, you know. So I think we're getting into a space where it's like I live like this every day, so every day is supposed to be like this. When in reality, every day is not going to be what we imagine it to be. Because Katrina happened so fast. It happened so fast. And if I was old enough to actually grasp what was actually happening to those people, I feel like the direction that I was going and where I was going, I probably would have went the opposite direction to go down there and try to help people. There's one thing I try to strive at in life is to be a steward of the people, you know? Like I just wanna help out wherever I can, when I can, if I can, you know? Because that's how we all get blessed, by helping people. But yeah, that's my story. I still can't believe it's like that was 20 years ago because Katrina was real life 9/11. It wasn't a terrorist attack, but it was still a catastrophe, a big natural disaster that happened to homegrown Americans. And nobody should ever be treated like that. Nobody. Katrina left a big scar on American conscience. Not just a weather story, but a human one. We gotta take care of each other, y'all. Yes, sir, doctor. But what do I know? My name's JERRODBROSEAN. I ain't always right, but I love you. Ain't nothing you can do about that. Yes, sir, doctor. What was your Katrina experience? Were you there? Do you know somebody that was there? Let me know in the comments below.
Thug Life.